And now a public service announcement from your homie, Strident.
What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with a quick video, hopefully. What you're looking at are custom figures, with the exception of one. She's a light custom. There are custom figures that I made years ago when I was into customizing 12-inch figures, and I'm talking about I customized most of the clothing. Sometimes you had to custom fit the clothing because you could buy it from a specific, retailer online. And then you had to tweak it to fit the body that you wanted to use. Also, you had to take apart bodies and put together the parts that you want so that the characters could actually do what you want them to do. Because there were a couple companies that made really posable bodies, but they were out of scale or they were too tall for the character, A lot of these are personal characters, but I did do customs for people for a number of years. My sister and I used to do it together. She's better at sewing than I am, but we still used to do this, and it used to work. It was cool. The problem that I want to talk about, though, is it's real simple. If I sit down and I do a custom like this, and this was about 8 years ago I was doing this, while I was in college, I would have to go out and buy the parts, and then after a couple years of doing so, you have like a surplus of parts, so you don't have to buy anything new. But you would have to buy the parts. If you didn't have a costume that was the right color, either you made it from scratch or you had to go and buy something to work off of, And then you bought the figure. Figures were about $20 unless you bought one of the more expensive figures, like the 21st Century Toys tended to have more expensive bodies, and they were about $30. But you never got into the realm of, rarely when I made these figures, unless I had to sculpt the face, you never really got into the realm of paying $300 and $400 for a customized action figure. Why is that? It's because you're starting with something. You know what I mean? Like, you're starting with a figure, you're customizing an existing figure. You're not building it from scratch. I recently wanted to have a custom made. And I'll show you what I wanted. I recently got this. It's a figure I've been waiting for. I shouldn't even say recently, but I got this, and I've been sitting on it for a while. Because I want to repaint it, because I didn't give a shit about the Nintendo release of this character. You know what I'm saying? It's Batman. It's Keaton as Batman. It's my favorite Batman. It's the one figure I've been waiting for a long time. Well, I was wondering if anyone else repainted this thing. So I went online, and I came across one customizer in particular who did it, and I said, I would like you to make mine look like this. Doesn't that look sweet? So I said, all I need you to do is repaint the figure and, send him back to me. I'll deal with the cape. I said, what's the price? It can't be that expensive if I'm sending you the figure, because all you'll have to do is paint it. This motherfucker said it would cost $190, and that you could drop it to $170. I'm like, really? To paint this thing? Now, don't get me wrong. I know that this is a process, and I know things take some time. But, I'm an artist. It's my profession. You know what I mean? I know how to sculpt. I know how to paint. I know how to draw. I know how to ink. I know how to do these things traditionally, and I know how to do them digitally. So I know that when it comes to customizing, if the work is done for you where the figure exists and all you have to do is color it, how are you going to tell me to put a coat or two of black over this body and then paint the belt yellow and paint the symbol yellow is going to cost $190 anything? I mean, are you fucking kidding me? You don't have to shade anything. It's a flat color. Needless to say, when I heard that, because I really was just pricing, I wanted to see what would homeboy say. What would be the price? What insane bullshit explanation would he come up with? And You know, I listen and I listen, and he mentions, you know, base figure, shipping, and all that stuff. How much do you think one of my custom 12-inch figures cost? For me to make the costume, give you the weapons. You know, weapon sets were cheap. They were like $14.99 back in the day. And if you only want one or two of those weapons, how could I charge you the full price of the whole set for one or two of those weapons? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. If you told me what clothes you want, costume sets or clothing sets came in, and accessory sets came pretty cheap too. They're about the same price as your weapon sets. So do you think that I would charge you for your piece, the particular thing you want from that set? I'm going to charge you the price of the entire set? Hell no, that makes no sense. That's me ripping off someone, and I wouldn't do that. So on average, we sold our custom 12-inch figures for like 80 bucks. Sometimes 50 if it was something really light, you know, like, hey, can you put a really cool, you know, goatee, sideburns, and, you know, give him jeans and sneakers, and, you know, fit the shirt, make the shirt fit the guy? Fine, we'll do it. And that would be like 30 to 50 bucks. When they said, oh, we want a leather jacket, and we want decals, and we want blah, 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 that was about 80 bucks. The most expensive thing I ever made for anyone, it was about 100 bucks, because they wanted very small details. He had a lot of knives. These are the only ones I could find pictures of, because like I said, this was many years ago. I had a shitty camera, as you can kind of see with these pictures, and I couldn't really I just didn't keep the pictures that I took. I took pictures so I could give them updates, you know. But anyway, they had a character they wanted like from head to toe in knives, and I had to search for knives, and they had to match too. So I had to buy several sets. What you're looking at here is a custom I made for myself, of myself. There's a character of mine, it's Weaponsmith, but back in the day it used to be called Edge when I was on my blade kick, because he used all edged weapons, and he's a devil hunter. But anyway, since then it's been changed. He is Weaponsmith. End of story. But anyway, I had to find all these blades. I had to find this. It was a hard to find figure from what was that show? Andromeda. And I had to tweak the costume. It was for a girl, so that it fit her tight, you know, so that they didn't plan on taking it off. So I had to bring in the sides and things so it hugged the body of the figure, and it made her look sexy because it hugged her shape, you know. And then I had to find blades for this character, tons of them. I mean, she had knives all like on both sides of her chest. She had knives on the sides of her thighs going all the way down to where her knees start. And then I had to find two like medium-sized knives for her to fight with. Needless to say, it was a hassle. The pants that they wanted, that the pants that the figure came with, didn't fit properly, so I had to get the materials to make better pants. It was a hassle, but it came out looking cool. I wish I had pictures to show you guys, but the bottom line is, it was hours and hours and hours and hours. I also had to repaint her hair and her face, so it was like, okay. It wasn't too difficult, because mainly the hair and the tone of the skin had to match, so I was able to do a light wash over the skin tone, or over her skin, you know, on her face mainly, because you couldn't see the rest of her skin on her body. And I had to find hands that matched that, and that was it, and it was done. A lot of times with 12-inch figures, the saving grace is that a lot of the body is hidden underneath the clothing, and people don't typically change the figure's clothing, so you don't have to worry about that stuff showing. So you only have to paint the parts that are going to be seen. What I would do is find a body that matched what I was painting, just in case. And sometimes if they said don't do it, don't worry about it, I didn't do it. You know, people are on budgets. They don't want to spend billions of dollars on just this, you know. So I tried to be pretty understanding when it came to these things, because I understand that folks have, you know, budgets, and folks have lives and such. But anyway, that was the most expensive custom. This guy said 190 bucks to paint a figure all black, and to put yellow in 2 places, and then to paint a skin tone on the lower half of a face of a character. I'm saying to myself, are you fucking kidding me? And it's not the first time that I tried to price a custom and somebody tried to completely take me for a ride. And they're talking about how there's all this overhead and blah, blah, blah. Like, are you kidding me? I sent a cape to Canada and I'm still paying for it. It cost me almost $50 to send that shit. It cost me $20 to send it and then $30 for customs. You know what I mean? And I did it. The cape itself cost $15. So it's like, come on, you know? And the cool thing too is I got dude threw in extra stuff for me. You know, he made that cool Cobra Commander and whatnot. But the bottom line is it was more expensive to send that thing, and I still didn't charge him like $100 for me to make a custom cape, which is me just cutting out material in proportion to the figure that it's going to go on. That's like way gouging people. And I don't know when it became okay for people to just straight up gouge you for stuff, but it seems to be an epidemic when it comes to custom action figures, you know? When I worked with Happy Day Customs, I was surprised because he didn't really go crazy as far as price goes, you know? And we spoke about how much, you know, work we both have done, you know? So I knew what the individual things I wanted would cost, and plus I was supplying the figure and I was supplying the parts, so all you had to do was put them together for me, you know what I mean? So we talked about a lot of different things, and he was really cool about it, and he was realistic, you know? A lot of you guys, it's like you're just anxious to get something and you don't care about how much it's gonna cost, or, you know, is this a realistic price, or, you know, do these parts really cost all that? Does it really take that long to do all this stuff? Will I, you know, am I really getting what I paid for? And then you pay for it and you're out $100. Well, maybe you're not out $100, but you've just paid $100 and something bucks for, you know, a 7-inch figure that took 3 hours to paint fully. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. Personally, I don't want to get it because I'm not going to subscribe to that. I've done entire murals where it didn't cost $300 or $400 to do. It took a couple, you know, maybe 20 to 40 man hours to paint the shit, but it didn't take thousands of dollars to produce, you know? And you charge them accordingly. There's an ethics guide for freelancers where you kind of get like a rating of what it would cost for you to do certain things, or what's ethical as far as price guidelines for your work. None of these motherfuckers are following these things. Well, I shouldn't say none of them, but a lot of them are not. There are a handful that do. Happy Day Customs is one of them. But overall, you guys are overpaying. You're horribly overpaying. And you're setting a precedent for these, they work hard, but you're setting a precedent for all customizers in general to just get over and be paid double and triple what their work is worth. I mean, some of these guys charge these prices and don't even do quality work. You know what I mean? Seams will be all off. You're seeing fucking paint chipping all over the place. They don't know how to seal their stuff. They don't mix paints. The finish is all globby and shit, and it's like, how you gonna charge the same amount as someone who could make the shit look like it came from the factory? And those guys are few and far in between, you know? The problem I had when I was customizing, and why I stopped, is it was so time consuming, and I got so into it to the point where it was like every little detail I had to make sure I got right. I was repainting eyes, I'm adding little bits of paint here and there, I'm sewing the shit out of, and I would sew by hand. I didn't use the sewing machine. My sister, she used the sewing machine. I did one character, it was a dude with rooted hair, but the hair was this kind of plasticky kind of stuff. Like, it was the hair from the Storm, the first appearance 8-inch Storm figure from Toy Biz back in the day. I cut off a bit of that hair because she had so much hair, and then I rooted it on a male figure and then glued it down. And my God, it was such a pain in the ass, but I was so into it that I made that shit work, you know? So I'm just saying that you can't allow for these things to happen, you know? You've got to actually pay attention, price or judge the price, you know? In the end, if you don't pay, these folks don't work. When I do freelance now, it has to be reasonable. You know, I have to charge an hourly rate because sometimes that's all I'm doing. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm in between jobs. I made sure I'm making a switch. So I'm focusing a lot more on my freelance. So if this is all I'm doing right now, it has to be a competitive rate and it has to make sense. I can't just gouge people, you know? All it would take is for one person to actually look at that guide, an ethics guide, or ask a professional for them to say, you know, yeah, they're gouging you, that's not the right price. Word gets out and then you have no business. And I know they're doing toys and people are fanatical about their fucking toys, you know, but you just, we gotta stop this shit. I mean, from the companies, they're gouging you. Then the customizers, they're not even making the figures from scratch. They're customizing existing shit with existing shit, and then they're charging you hundreds of dollars for it. If it costs you $20 in the store, and it costs you $5 to ship it, and the paints cost $3 a pop, including the sealant, sandpaper costs $5, why are you paying $200 or $400 for a fucking 7-inch action figure? That doesn't make any damn sense, you know? You've got to find a way to be logical about these things so that we can start taking control of this shit in a good way, where we're not overpaying, when we're not getting, you know, taken for a ride. This shit's not cool. It doesn't feel right to know that someone is taking advantage of you. You know? This shit really pissed me off because I know better. Like I said, I was doing this on 12-inch figures. You know? It's a lot more work to do this on a 12-inch figure than it is to do this with a freaking 7-inch figure. You know? Taking apart bodies. I customized my Blade 2 figure because the original one's body is all fucked up. You could look it up online. Those Marvel Studios 12-inch figures, they had shitty bodies, but the gear was really cool. So I had to customize mine so that he actually looked the part. I'm just saying, you guys, it's got to be done. They need to stop this shit, you know? So anyway, that's my little public service announcement for you guys. I've, you know, ranted and raved enough, or I didn't really rave, but I complained enough. And I don't know, stay tuned for the next video. I've got some cool action figure goodness from the G.I. Joe side of things. So anyway, I'll talk to you later. Peace.